Okay, so I understand based on what you're saying why the government and big corporations would want to keep this thing under wraps.
Mm-hmm.
The aliens, according to you, they are light years ahead of us in terms of technology, in terms of understanding.
Right.
What's their motive? Why did they, because I saw the interview with
question.
you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's a great question. I'm happy to answer it. I think there are multiple issues here. One, I don't think it's anything new that this planet and humans have been observed by extraterrestrial civilizations. I mean, there are cave drawings from 5,000 years ago that show a classic UFO with these life forms outside of it. There's artwork from the 1400s that demonstrate and show these objects in the sky with a beam of light coming down. There's a cave in India that has similar artwork. But I think that the modern era, let's call it the modern era where there's so much of this going on, coincided precisely with the detonation and development and then detonation of the first atomic weapons. Because when we detonate those things, what we didn't know, what Oppenheimer and Teller, all the people who worked on the Manhattan Project didn't know, there's an electromagnetic pulse that goes out, everybody's heard of, knocks out your electronics, electric grid. But there's also this scalar. Now, a scalar pulse is multiples of the speed of light. And it is in this entangled aspect of quantum physics, and it disrupts extraterrestrial travel and communications. So that got everyone's attention out there, these other star systems. And that's why every single nuclear bomb squadron, processing facility, ICBM site, et cetera, and so on, here, UK, France, Soviet Union, Russia, have had some sort of UFO surveillance because they're so concerned about those. Not only for us destroying this planet, but the risks they pose. So I think that's one of their concerns. There's a certain amount of interest in protecting life on Earth, but there's also enlightened self-interest. Secondly, I think they're concerned that the technologies we've gotten from studying these extraterrestrial vehicles that we have downed are now being turned into weapon systems targeting extraterrestrial vehicles out in space. So this technology curve, it may have gone slowly from 45 to 54. It was like this, and then it could boom. And so it's a nonlinear development of technologies covertly that aren't under the supervision of most of the Pentagon and White House and even CIA and Congress. It's in this rogue operation that tells very little of what they have, and they can use those technologies to do two dangerous things: stage a fake alien attack, sort of a false flag, which I think is imminent, frankly. And secondly, target extraterrestrial assets, which is a huge risk, right? Where at some point you have to ask the question, even though I'm quite convinced these ET civilizations are fundamentally peaceful, you don't know where is the red line. How far can you push into this and create a threat where humans are a threat before they have to intervene? But I don't think the ETs are going to just land on the White House lawn. What I think is, to be honest with you, the ETs are expecting the children of Earth to fix this problem. So I think there's an expectation that humans need to fix this, as opposed to them landing here and fixing it for us. So I think their presence has been very nuanced up till now, and it should be. I mean, think about it. We're an evolving civilization. I don't know if you have children, but it's sort of like if a child reaches the point where it's trying to toddle around, if every time it started to fall, you picked it up and wouldn't let it fall and get its leggings, that child would never walk. So humanity is at this point of emergence from the jungle to city states to the last 100 years, sort of a technological civilization. If there was an intervention that wide and overt by other civilizations, it would actually cause our evolution to slow down and not enable us to exert our own free will, back to where we started this conversation, to create a better world and learn the lessons collectively humans need to learn, that we have to learn. So I think they're wise enough. I think if I figured this out, I'm sure they figured it out, right? So I think they understand this and they want us to be able to get this right. Now, the question is, how far can they let us muck things up? Because right now, I mean, we're screwing up the biosphere. We're screwing up. We have 3 billion people on the planet. I don't know if you know this, that don't have any means of even cooking their food. They're cutting down rainforests and shrubs in the desert. 3 billion of the 8 billion people have no means to cook their food. So the level, I mean, in America, we don't know what poverty is compared to the rest of the world if you travel. And so a world like that is fundamentally unstable because this sort of have and have-nots ultimately leads to disgruntled cultures, terrorism, all kinds of problems. So all of these are interrelated. And so delaying the release of this knowledge and information 70 years has not been smart. Now, in the short run, because, yeah, it seemed justifiable. In the long run, it's turned out to be a debacle disaster. So now what we're trying to do, this is why I call this in the lost century. There's a century of this lost evolution, technology, social evolution. But I think in a 10-year to 20-year period, even within my lifespan, never mind yours, this could be corrected. I'm very optimistic that it can be fixed. I really am. I wouldn't be doing this if I thought it was hopeless. So now the extraterrestrial civilizations, they're waiting for us to do a couple of things. First, get this resolved. Secondly, quit targeting them and hitting their craft with these weapons. And then thirdly, officially reach out peacefully to them, right? Why aren't we doing that? You know, we don't see the State Department or the UN or foreign ministries of other countries because the issue has been kept so marginalized and ridiculed and left on the sideline that there is nothing. That's why I started the whole Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind contact, the CE5 contact effort. It's sort of have humans show a different face to these civilizations besides just a military approach or a weapon approach. And I think that's what we can do individually now. But I think the governments of the world are going to have to get their minds around this pretty quickly because the danger is this rogue group have technologies. We don't have time to go into it, but whatever you think, and this is what Ben Rich, the head of the Lockheed Skunk Works, this super secret contractor for Lockheed, said on the week before he died to a member of our team, James Goodall, a very famous aerospace illustrator, historian. He said, anything you have seen on Star Trek and can imagine, we've already done at the Lockheed Skunk Works, and it's not out at Area 51. It's out in the desert of California there. So now, if all those technologies were looked at and applied towards healing diseases, fixing the biosphere, eliminating poverty, et cetera, and so on, we'd have a new civilization. But if they're used only for targeting and aggressive approaches to the extraterrestrials, we could be looking at an extinction level event on this planet. I mean, really catastrophic. So we have some very big decisions to make collectively in the next, I would say, 2 to 3 years max.